one of the things that, I know you and I have talked about a lot is like why changes fail oftentimes is because we forget about the fact that people are messy and people are infallible and people have emotions and people bring all their own outside stuff into work too, right? And so this idea of like uncertainty for humans is a hard one. So, how do we think about uncertainty, how our systems respond to uncertainty, and how that impacts organizational changes? Like, we've talked a lot about, different biases and survival mode. Like, what do you see playing out sometimes in these situations?
I'm actually going to turn this into a positive. Like both the companies I worked with went through massive growth at all times. And it was not like it wasn't a struggle. There were things that were a struggle, but there was excitement behind it, right? So I think that that is a reframing. There can be excitement. Change can be excited. So one of my favorite quotes is that people do not resist change, they resist being changed. So I think if this is just a rule of thumb, two things of advice. If you involve your people, you get the closest to the customer, you get the closest to the problem, and you let the people build the solutions for that growth. You involve them, and you don't just make this something that four people are talking about at the top of the house, and it's actually an organization that you're involving into the conversation. That will work wonders. And the second thing is just honesty. I think sometimes that people think that they can get away with like sugarcoating or not telling, I don't want to say lying, but it's like not telling like the whole truth and that the organization will just go along with it. I just feel like it never happens. Like you have to be honest and realize that you have these really educated adults that are working at your organization and they're not going to fall for it unless it's honest. And the moment that they feel like it's not honest anymore, you're going to create disengagement. So involve them and make sure that you're honest. You don't have to be transparent. You don't have to tell them everything. You just have to be honest.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that people don't share what, call it whatever you want, call it the whole truth, right? Share the whole story is some leaders are like, oh, well, people don't need to know everything, or I'm overloading them with information, or if I share this piece of information, they're going to have all of these questions that I don't have answers to. And I think those are like very real and like valid
Mhm.
fears and concerns. But I think your point of like, if we treat our employees like full grown, fully functioning adults, we can have those conversations of, I don't know this part yet. And I don't know when I'm going to know, but like, let's stay close. If a decision comes up that might be, hinging on these things. I think that transparency and communication is important. But I also, it's bringing up for me, like, we can't jump into a change without like a foundation of trust. So being able to
Yeah.
like build that, like you've got to have that as a priority before you get into these situations too, because you can't go into a relationship that doesn't have trust and say, I'll tell you when you need to know and expect that that person's not going to freak out?
Mhm. Yeah, there has to be psychological safety. There has to be trust before first and foremost.